When you think of Disney, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? For me, it's family trips to Disneyland. I grew up in Southern California, and so I was lucky enough to have Disneyland right down the road. We went every year, and those trips turned into some of my most favorite memories growing up. 2 years ago, my siblings and I took our 14 nieces and nephews to the park for one big family day. It was a chance for us to relive those same special moments from our childhood. Now for you, that first Disney memory might be trick-or-treating as Buzz Lightyear, or a Winnie the Pooh themed birthday party, or maybe it was your kids singing Let It Go on repeat on a family road trip. This is the legacy of Disney. Long after the details fade, those feelings are still with you. And my point here is that Disney is personal. If you ask 10 people, you will get 10 different memories. And that's because for over 100 years, Disney stories haven't just entertained us, they've lived with us. They've shaped bedtime routines and family vacations. They've become memories that we carry long after the credits roll. Now, after 100 years of the world's most memorable storytelling, the question is, what comes next? How do we make sure that Disney isn't just a big part of our lives, but for every generation, our children and our grandchildren? So one of our biggest challenges and opportunities is to stay relevant, even as the world is changing all around us. So what do I mean by relevance? It's quite a buzzy word these days, but at its heart, relevance means that your brand matters, that people care. Our relationship with our fans is not transactional, and for most, it is deeply meaningful. Now, that means constantly evolving to meet the needs of this newer generation. Now, Walt knew this instinctively. When he built Disneyland, he told the media that the park will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination in the world. And that is true not just for our theme parks, but for our entire company. We are finding new ways to connect with younger generations through all forms of storytelling, including consumer products, an area of the business that I have had the great privilege of leading for the last 4 years. Now, when you hear consumer products, you might think theme park merchandise. And yes, this includes hundreds of retail locations at our parks and through our Disney stores. But that is only one part of our world. Disney's licensing and retail business is the largest in the world, with $62 billion in annual retail sales. We span over 100 categories across more than 180 countries. And if we were a standalone company, we would be in the Fortune 500. Now, you can find Disney-branded product at every level of retail, from value to luxury year-round. But we are also a leading games licensor and the world's largest children's publishing brand. As the daily touch point to Disney, our purpose is simple. We create happiness every day. And one way we do this is by bringing our stories to life across the world's most influential cultural forces, from fashion to gaming, technology, music, and more. But we've always played an important part in the Disney flywheel. Now, this may look familiar to some of you. It is how Disney has stayed relevant for over a century, by delivering what people love most in the ways that they have come to expect. Now, for a long time, movies were how most people first connected with Disney. Take Frozen, for example. It started as a movie, but quickly became a global phenomenon. We all remember how many Anna and Elsa dresses we saw when that film first came out. And then the franchise expanded to become a Broadway musical and its own theme park attraction. And in the last decade, we've released a sequel, shorts, books, sing-alongs, and even an award-winning kids podcast. But today, the movie theater is just one place that people spend their time. Entertainment has exploded into a fast-moving landscape where content comes in every shape and size. And it's created, consumed, shared, and remixed across countless platforms. It is not just how you access the content that has changed, it's also who creates it. Storytelling is now a 24/7 global conversation powered by millions of voices. So, what does all of this mean for Disney? It means continuing to embrace change, just like we always have. Relying on legacy alone isn't a strategy for the future. Now, staying relevant with new generations is not about abandoning what has made us so successful these last 100 years. It has always been about amplifying it across new platforms, industries, and forms of media. People are just as likely to find their next favorite character in a video game as they are in the movie theater. And today, there are many different paths into Disney. It's incredibly exciting and has actually opened up a whole new world of opportunity. And with this opportunity comes the need to think differently. To thrive in today's environment, our designers and merchandisers, they had to start seeing themselves as content creators and storytellers too. And this new mindset is the foundation of everything that you'll see today. Now, of course, everything that we do is truly a team effort. And so to help me illustrate how we're bringing these ideas to life, I'm going to invite a few of our creative leaders to the stage, starting with Ron Ferris, our head of global marketing. He came to us a little less than a year ago from Nike, and we are absolutely thrilled to have him on board. I asked Ron to join me to talk about the most important part of our brand, which of course is our fans. Ron, welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Tasia. Hi, everyone. I'm Ron Ferris. I run marketing at Disney Consumer Products. And I'm here to share a different perspective when it comes to marketing. One that focuses more on fandom. One that focuses on energy and emotion, not just clicks and eyeballs. I spent a career studying fandom, from music to sneaker culture to gaming. Disney, above all else, is a really, really special place. It's a tapestry of fandom communities that span our stories and characters. And how we connect with those fans is different from how you engage with traditional consumers. I'm going to show you how we do it, okay? So I'm going to start with our mission statement, and that is to inspire demand by building culturally relevant moments that earn the right to scale across fandom and mass communities. So let's unpack this a little bit. What makes a moment relevant? Who shapes the trend? Well, before we discuss the how, first we need to think of the who. Who are these people? Who are the consumers that drive fandom and drive culture? Who is best to scale that trend? Well, now typically it's not just the old, it's not the rich, it's young people. Young people are who shape the trends. And as you can see here, this is the spectrum of youth culture. It spans many age groups, as you can see, but this is the area that we tend to focus on. This older Gen Alpha, young Gen Z, roughly around 14 to 24. This is the generation that shapes culture. This is who shapes and scales trends. Now, it's for a few different reasons. The young ones, the older Gen Alpha, they're empowered by this newfound independence from mom and dad. You know, they're figuring out their identity. They're trying new things, new bands, new memes that they love to see trend. The older ones in Gen Z are known for that high velocity of sharing content on social. And that's because they got more time than everyone else. They don't have kids. They don't have jobs even that distract them from that new band or that new meme they're looking out for. I really, really miss those days. Well, now it's important to recognize one critical fact. These kids are built different, more than any other generation before them. These kids were raised during the COVID years. That's really, really unique to this group. Their relationship with commerce was first formed playing live service video games. Now, let me give you a sense of what I mean here, just to show you how different this kid is from what we're used to, all right? This should be familiar to all of you. This is the Amazon grid wall. This is how we all shop digitally. Now, this digital design was first created this way because Amazon wanted to feel familiar, all of us to feel familiar with how we were to shop and how we all learned how to shop, which all came from here. Grocery aisles, shelf space. This is how our generations were first exposed to shopping. It's what feels familiar to us. But this is how Gen Alpha learned to shop, in Fortnite and Roblox item shops at the age of 9. Think about that. Any of you with kids in the audience know that feeling when you've seen your kids spend their allowance in these item shops constantly? I'm hearing giggles from a lot of people. These kids knew how to shop and spend money at an age probably 4 years younger than when we first learned how to shop. And their patterns, their behaviors are different. They seek urgent live moments. They seek always-on fresh product, exclusivity and scarcity. These are not shoppers, they're hunters. And if you don't believe me, consider this. The two biggest youth trends today are trading in sports cards and vintage and thrifting. Both are passions that are underpinned by exclusive and scarce product. Both have secondary markets, and both contain that intense thrill of discovery when finding that product and after searching for it for so long. My daughter will wear a Led Zeppelin t-shirt for its aesthetic, its beautiful trending aesthetic that it's got. She has no idea who the band is. And that's a family issue we are working on together. It is a problem. This generation is disrupting other patterns too. Video games are as big as box office right now. YouTube shorts are the new Saturday morning cartoons. And TikTok and creators are the new playground talk. Now, this is one of our key consumer segments at an individual level. Their energy and their scale, how they scale ideas, affects all of our segments, all other segments, families, kids, everything across mass retail. But you have to start with this set first, understand how they shape the trend, and watch how that trend scales across the entire ecosystem. So when you understand how trends are shaped, that's a different story, and we're going to go through that right now. This is the fandom ecosystem. It's comprised of 3 tiers: subculture, pop culture, and mass culture. If the wider circle are broad baseball fans, that middle circle, pop culture, those are Yankee fans. And then the subculture in the middle, those are the bleacher creatures, the face painters, the ones that are really, really diehard. And the goal is to harmonize all the needs in this ecosystem so it creates a thriving fandom community. Now let's click and go one level deeper into this. Subculture is made up of those who shape the trend. Pop culture is made up of those who chase the trend. They're the ones thirsty, looking for something more. And mass culture are made up of those who casually follow the trend. Now, those that sit in the subculture, we call those the purists. They're super hardcore. Some can be so hardcore that they could tend to alienate all the other fans, which isn't good. Those in the pop culture are the explorers. They seek something different, and they race to chase the trend. That's where the bulk of the virality comes from. And then the casual ones are the ones who scale the trend. Now, sometimes these groups are in harmony, sometimes they aren't. Purists at times hold the lore just too close. I'm a purist Star Wars fan, okay? A stormtrooper to me should look the exact same as it did in 1977 when I fell first in love with that fandom. But my 15-year-old son is an explorer. The last thing he wants to do is hang out with his dad's stormtrooper. He wants his own version of a stormtrooper. He wants one that he can remix and call his own. And that, my friends, is the tension that fuels the passion of a fandom community. It could be a stormtrooper, an Air Force One, whatever it is. You have to remix your stories to grow with youth culture. You have to make sure that you embrace the purist and without alienating the explorers, or else the trend dies. Now, we have a playbook for this at Disney, the way we look at it. This is how we fuel and shape culture. Our playbook has 3 ingredients: story, product, and experience. Story is the most important. That's the lore. And we shape or remix our stories to drive energy and emotion across different segments of our consumers. Think of like Miles Morales Spider-Man. To me, that's a remixed version of Peter Parker Spider-Man. Peter Parker Spider-Man loves chemistry and photojournalism. My son loves none of those things. He loves graffiti and hip hop. That's Miles Morales Spider-Man. He's the Spider-Man of identity and self-expression. Peter Parker's the Spider-Man of responsibility. And that's how you remix a character. And that's what's really important to embrace this next generation, is to think differently about how you think of your stories and your lore. Products are the high heat drops that express the key beats of the stories in compelling and surprising ways. Now that could be fashion or streetwear, Topps trading cards, vinyl plush toys, video game skins, different ways meeting the consumer where they are. And then lastly are experiences. This is the consumer journey. This is the way a fan unlocks the product or story over a series of moments. It could be a blind box of Stitch at Pop Mart, or an Easter egg at the end of a Marvel film that fuels and drives more story. Or it could be transmedia. Those are my favorite, where you take an Easter egg in a video game that can unlock more of a story that shows up as short form content on Disney+. Those journeys, those fun ingredients, that's part of the ride. And that's the experience that these consumers love. This is our playbook. This is where we meet the consumer where they are to fuel their fandom. Now, you're going to hear a lot more today about how we fuel this across our experiences. I'm going to now hand it back to Tasia, and she'll walk you through how it manifests across some of our current programs at Disney. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. What Ron just shared gets to the core of what we are here to talk about today, which is how to stay relevant for today's audiences. And we're doing that by focusing on 3 key strategies. First, meet your audience where they are already spending their time. Show up in the spaces where remixing and creation are already happening. Today's consumers expect to have a voice, and they're looking for community and shared experiences on these platforms. Second, build emotional connections at every touch point. Make every interaction more than just a transaction. Make it a moment that is genuinely felt. And the third one is all about unexpected but authentic collaborations and how they can introduce your brand to new audiences in fresh and memorable ways. So next, I'd like to show how this work comes to life and how it's opening up different pathways that resonate with our consumers. For example, gaming has become not only a huge business for us, but also an incredibly important entry point into Disney. In many cases, it is the first place that fans meet a character or get pulled into a new story. Our games team partners with the top developers to build award-winning experiences. In fact, 9 of our gaming franchises have each grossed more than $1 billion in sales, and Disney mobile games have been installed more than 1.5 billion times to date. Now, what makes these games so successful is not simply that we are adapting films into a new format. Games are their own form of original and immersive storytelling. So to talk more about how we are building on our momentum and taking games to the next level, I'd now like to invite Sean Shoptaw, Disney's EVP of Games and Digital Entertainment, to the stage. Sean, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Nice crowd.
Yeah, this is a fun one. So Sean, something we talk about a lot, of course, is games' role within the Disney ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the unique role that Disney plays within that flywheel.
Yeah, so I think the original Disney flywheel, most people are aware of, that founded the company a long time ago. And Walt set out to create great film and shorts that really served this purpose to create great story for that medium, but also served a very important downstream opportunity for theme park expressions and other things that now serve as the foundation for our company. Certainly we view games as pivotal to that modern flywheel. It's a place that is true content where folks really start to discover and intersect with our characters, stories, and worlds in really deep immersive ways. And so we certainly think it's an and next to films, next to TV shows, next to great physical attractions at our theme parks, that games really are true content that bring people into our worlds every day.
Yeah. So you just referenced that integration with the other parts of the company and games really being viewed as content.
Yep.
I thought folks in the room might find it interesting how we make that happen within the creative engine at Disney.
Yeah, so roughly 8 years ago, we made a conscious decision to really focus games in a way that, again, served this medium specifically. For a long time, we would do retellings of films and other things that really served more of a marketing purpose for the broader company. And we really repurposed games very intentionally to be true original stories built for this medium specifically. And so working with filmmakers, working with creatives around the company, and then most importantly, working with the best game developers anywhere in the world across mobile games, console games, PC games, to really make the best product, to make products that really did our IP justice with true creatives on both sides of the table. So again, this wasn't us going and saying, we want to make a game that does this. It was really sitting down with creatives on both sides saying, what is the best game we can make? And what is the story we want to tell here that is truly original for this medium, and again, not something that people had seen before. And that goal for us was really to build franchises in games the same way we have in film and television and other parts of the company. And that really serves this foundational purpose of allowing us to storytell in a really unique way and build these audiences that we can continue to serve, hopefully, for many years to come.
I think, and we've talked before, your team actually reads the scripts, for example, of Marvel movies and figures out where are those organic points where you can sort of really pull a character or a storyline into a compelling game.
Yeah,
fun.
We spend a lot of time with filmmakers, like I said, and creators around the company to really understand where there's opportunity to tell stories that might not show up on the big screen or can be new extensions of stories that have great followings, or we want to create new fandom in certain areas that we think can be really gameable and interesting. That's a really interesting, fun collaboration, certainly for my team and I.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it probably goes without saying, the entertainment industry is going through a period of disruption. Gaming and that universe is also going through quite a bit of disruption. We talk about this all the time.
Yep.
But I think the audience would find it interesting to understand better how we're thinking about addressing that head on.
Yeah, so to the point I just made, we spent a lot of time building this foundational business that has been rooted in really great console, mobile, PC games, building those great franchises that Tasia had referenced a minute ago. But we're also very mindful of where the world has gone, and certainly games is going through a massive disruption with big ecosystem game platforms, most notably Roblox and Fortnite, where these effectively now are massive social platforms, right? Where kids are spending and adults are spending hours and hours a day together playing games, but also more broadly creating their own content, watching content in a lot of cases. And for us, that's serves a very interesting purpose as we think about how we address that consumer in a way that, again, is not single player or singular experiences that we, again, have been focused on for many years successfully, which we still think is going to play a meaningful role for hopefully a long time. But we also felt like we needed a place that we can bring those audiences together to do all of those behaviors in one connected space. We announced a partnership a couple of years ago with Epic Games to build out this massive Disney universe that's going to bring everything we do at the company together into that space. A platform rooted in games. We've got to make these foundational, big live service ecosystem games great. Then that should allow us, and hopefully will allow us, to bring our great film and TV content to really enable the creator community for the first time at our company in a really material way to go create their own Disney games and Disney stories in a substantive way. We think, again, foundationally, that's a space we need to play. It's a space that I think no company is better positioned to own than us, but we've got to go meet that mark, and that's something we're really excited about doing. Well,
as you know, our partnership with Epic, of course, that was your idea, really creating this new digital universe out there tied to Disney. Maybe give everybody an example of how would we see that coming to life when we think about, for example, our physical parks and then this new Disney digital ecosystem.
Yeah.
Give some examples.
Yeah, I think there's one really good illustration on the digital side that we did in November where we took over Fortnite with The Simpsons, and we had a whole season of the game that was written by the creators of the show. So Matt Groening and Matt Selman and those guys who write the great Simpsons TV show wrote the game, the season of the game in Fortnite. We had great linear content that was paired with that season that aired on Disney Plus, that was on YouTube. So this sort of cross-format storytelling is something we think is very interesting and something that, again, we're incredibly well positioned to do. And The Simpsons was a great illustration, just one IP and one story for one season, but you can imagine us having a space that we can program and do that with across all the stories and things that we do around the company. So that was a great sort of digital illustration between games and linear content. To Tassia's point, we also think the physical world with our theme parks is ripe for bringing into a digital world. So those great experiences that folks have inside of our theme parks every day, when you leave, you leave. But we think there's a way to carry that consumer through those experiences, gamifying those experiences at the park that have relevance in the digital world, creating connectivity through games when you experience a great ride. We can do things, again, that we feel like can carry that consumer. When they get in the car, they can jump on their phone. There's resonance to the things that they're doing between the physical and digital space. And we think we're just starting to tap into what that can mean and really create, hopefully, really unique experiences that, again, cross over. And it's not just something that is us trying to connect in a less interesting way. We talk a lot about physical and digital in the world, but I think we're hopefully uniquely positioned to do it in a way that drives some meaningful engagement and creates experiences that are, again, unique to us, given the experiences we have across both the physical and digital worlds.
Right. Lots of great insights here on the gaming industry and how we're thinking about it at Disney. Any last takeaways for the audience?
Yeah, I would just say, look, I think games is a space that people obviously are heavily focused on for good reasons. There's massive audiences in these spaces. I would just say for us, and I think for the world, it's about creating great content built for this medium, authentic experiences. I think there's a lot of things that people can do that are maybe a little more box-checky, that are, frankly, less interesting. And I would just say for us and folks that have passion for this industry, build great products, create really authentic experiences built for this medium. And I think there's big payoffs there for this consumer base and potential brands that want to play in the space.
Great. Sean, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you being here with us.
Good to see you.
So our second takeaway gets to something truly powerful: developing emotional connections. Why should consumers care about your brand over everything else that is competing for their time and attention? And this isn't unique to any one industry. Every brand across every category can benefit from investing in emotion. Modern audiences aren't always looking for faster transactions. They're actually looking for experiences that move them. And as Ron shared earlier, we believe that this is not a passing trend. It is a fundamental shift in what people value. A shift that challenges every brand to show up with more intention, including ours. Now, people naturally associate creativity with Disney, but what actually fuels our emotional resonance actually isn't creativity alone. It is creativity with heart. I'd like to now welcome to the stage someone who lives and breathes this idea, Marcus Rosie, our Global Head of Creative.
Southwest. How are we? Good to see you all. Good energy in here. This is fun.
This is fun. This is fun. We've been looking forward to this for a long
Absolutely.
time.
Wow, it's bright. There we go. I can see you all.
So something that we talk a lot about when it comes to the creative process is that it's not just about how something looks. It is also about how something makes people feel.
Yeah.
And so how do you really kind of weave that emotion into your creative process, Marcus, with the team?
Yeah, it's a great question. For us, emotion is foundational in really everything that we do. Simply put, emotion moves people. And at Disney, before we say pencil touches paper, we always start with the feeling, right? What is the feeling that we are targeting? And a question for all of you is, when was the last time that a brand actually moved you? Not impressed you, not surprised you, but really made you feel something. And that feeling is always, whatever it might be, that feeling is always our starting point. We don't begin with, what do we want someone to buy? Where do we want someone to click? That's purely transactional. We always start with a different question, which is, what do we want people to feel? And once we define that emotional destination, whether it is wonder or nostalgia or humor or joy, whatever it may be, everything else actually becomes quite a simple set of design choices, the visuals, the product, the retail experience. Because emotion is really what turns a moment into a memory.
It's that North Star.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we're going to talk a lot about memory. I've heard us speak about it a lot today. Memory is really important. It's our North Star.
Great. So let's make this idea concrete. One of our most recent examples that I think really brought this notion of feeling to life, and that was our activation over the holidays with Selfridges.
Yeah, I hope you can all see that. It was beautiful. This was a dream project for all of us. If you don't know, Selfridges is a luxury department store right in the heart of London in Oxford Street. And during the holidays, they transformed the store inside and out into the must-see holiday destination. It's beautiful. And like everything that we do, we always start with that question when we sat down with Selfridges. It was, what do we want people to feel? And obviously, the holidays come with so much emotion anyway.
Yes, of course.
For us, the emotional destination was quite simple. It was, how do we create a sense of childlike wonder? So in every product and retail and experiences, how do we deliver that emotional journey? And again, I hope you can see this on the left and right, but we worked with our amazing Disney Imagineers, and we turned the exterior of Selfridges into a kinetic light show with the Disney Castle right in the center.
I remember it well.
You remember it well? It was beautiful. And every hour, on the hour, the entire building came to life with animation and music. And as we were right in the heart of London, we leaned into distinctly British stories. So Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, that authenticity was important.
Absolutely. 101 Dalmatians, just really great British stories. And we reimagined those stories in new ways that felt both classic and true to the heritage and the history, but with a modern twist. We were there.
We were
together.
there. In fact, Oxford Street was shut down.
It was. I mean, when thousands of people stop and look up all at the same time, you've sort of created something more than beauty. You've created a memory. It's really powerful.
Yeah. No, it was a special one, and I want to segue into another really special example, and this was our collaboration with Balmain to celebrate the 30th anniversary of The Lion King. And this was a real passion project for Olivia Rostag, who was the former creative director for Balmain, and it was a special one too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Firstly, I can't believe it was 30 years since the original Lion King came out. It makes me feel very old. When that movie did come out, it gave us all a glimpse into a part of the world that many had never experienced, right? In sort of a 90-minute block, it transported entire families into an entirely new world, right? New colors, new characters, new stories, new song. And it really made something distant feel personal and universal all at the same time. And, if we boil it all down, really, that's the power of great storytelling, not just to entertain, but to transport into magical, beautiful worlds. Yeah, so when it came round to working with the incredible brand Balmain to celebrate the 30th anniversary, we made a very intentional choice. We went back to the source. We shot on location in South Africa. We worked with African crews and just incredible African talent. And we really grounded the content in authentic perspectives. We didn't retell the story, that was never the intention. We reconnected with the roots of the story. And what came out felt new and fresh, but sort of instantly familiar. Ron spoke about this a little bit earlier. When three things combine, when content, product, and experience work in sort of perfect harmony, consumers are not just buying into the product. They really feel like they're part of the story, which is, again, being part of the story is so critical.
Absolutely. So we actually brought a clip of it
We got a
here
clip?
today,
I think we
and
got a
we're gonna
clip.
Take a
Run
quick
it?
look. You know, I've seen that several times, and I still really enjoy watching it.
The music is cool.
Yes, it is.
It's
but
good volume.
And it really does showcase that notion of how product and content are coming together, that storytelling in unique ways, and more than ever before.
Yeah.
So kind of sticking with this theme, we're going to take a different lens on it now. We're going to stick with this theme of emotional connection.
Yeah.
And interestingly, one thing that does not get talked about that often, but is quite powerful, is scent.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how we're leaning in there.
Absolutely, it's fascinating, right? Out of all of our senses, scent is the only one with a direct connection to emotion and memory. It sort of bypasses the rational part of our brain. That's why scent it's so incredibly powerful. It can instantly transport you back to a place or a feeling in really a way that almost nothing else can. When I experience the scent of sunscreen, for example, I'm 7 years old, I'm on a beach with my grandparents, and I'm Scottish, and it was always freezing. So when we had the opportunity to work with Bath & Body Works, we asked, what if scent could give Disney princesses a totally different dimension that we had never experienced before? What if you could experience Ariel's world through scent? Or what is Cinderella's?
Like transport you in a different way.
That's right,
Yes.
and it really does.
Yes.
We'd never explored it, right? So the first Princess collection was a great success, and it sort of showed us the power of multi-sensory storytelling. And we think there's something really powerful in that multi-sensory storytelling. And it begged the question, what about the villains, right? We love the villains.
Right. Now, people may not know this. We've been leaning into the villain. You know, Disney loves a good villain. We think there's potential there, so
There is.
having some fun with this one.
It's so in the cultural zeitgeist, right?
Absolutely.
You know, to go darker and bolder and a little bit more dramatic, which again was exactly what fans were craving. So every fragrance started with that same question we talked about earlier, which is, what do we want people to feel? Right? After that, we built each unique scent for each villain based on that emotional destination. So just a fascinating area to explore. It's really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stick with this theme then on
Where are we
senses.
going next?
Where are we going
Right,
next?
Where are we going next?
So let's go to taste.
Okay.
Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so we're going from scent to taste.
We are.
This was a fun one. This was pretty cool. So when we sat down with our friends at Oreo, the question wasn't, what art goes on the pack. It was, frankly, how do we create something that fans would want to explore, collect? Ron talked a lot about collectability and the power of collectability. And honestly, how do we create something that fans can just geek out over? So we developed 32 unique cookies, which is the most that Oreo has ever developed in a single series. And authenticity really mattered. I think you've heard that a lot today from us. We worked with legendary Marvel comic book artists to make sure the creative felt true to the brand, that felt dynamic and fresh. And then we added something that only Oreo could add.
Yeah, we got to keep it interesting.
Yeah, which
Gotta
was
keep it fun.
color-changing cream. Believe it or not, color-changing cream, which was, an innovation in the product itself. And our fans loved it. That took us straight to chapter 2, where we went full villain mode. I'm feeling like there's a bit of a theme going on here. Where we had Dr. Doom, we had a new flavor, a new color.
It's fun to lean into some of the newer stories, right?
It is. Doom's it's going to be great. But there was the fans loved it, right? That same sort of obsessive fan energy. And that's how we knew that it was working, right? The fans weren't just buying the cookies. They were hunting for designs. They were debating online what was the best art pack. They were asking who is the next villain.
Yes. Going back to some of the things Ron talked about earlier.
That's right.
Really coming to life.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration. So, just to come in full circle to see for us that emotional connection is really at the heart of everything that we do at Disney Consumer Products and indeed at the Walt Disney Company.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Marcus, thank you so much,
very much
for joining us today. It was been a delight to have you here.
Thank you.
So lastly, building on this theme of authenticity, let's talk about collaborations. Pairings that are unexpected, but at the same time, unmistakably true to your brand. Now to dig in on how we bring that to life, I'd now like to invite Bobby Kim, our Global Creative Director, to join the conversation. Bobby, come on out.
Hey everyone.
Bobby, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, for those of you that don't know, Bobby founded the streetwear brand The Hundreds, and he joined Disney about a year ago, and we could not be more delighted to have you with us.
Thanks, Tasia. Hey everyone, I'm Bobby Kim, also known as Bobby Hundreds, outside of here. I spent the last 23 years building a streetwear brand out of Los Angeles with my buddy Ben, and talk about unlikely pairings. We were two kids from opposite sides of the tracks, and we came together around our shared love of subcultures. We designed a brand about our background, our experiences, and we funneled it into one project. It evolved into a global streetwear community. But it's funny, coming full circle, our first big collaboration was with the Walt Disney Company, and now this is a couple decades ago.
This is a true full circle moment.
It's just super ironic that it happened that way, especially because at the time it was highly unusual, if not almost antithetical, for a streetwear brand, for a couple artists to be partnering with a big entertainment studio. You can imagine what the community must have felt like at the time. But the project worked out really well. And it worked out well because it came from a place of love. I truly identified with the Lost Boys from Peter Pan, of all the characters and all the IP that Disney had to offer.
I can see that.
You see it. How do you see it? You see it? Okay.
Yeah.
These characters are lovable, but they're rebellious. They were stylish, they dress cool, and they never grew up. So I'm very much a Lost Boy in myself. But when you look at it that way, the project instantly sold out. It was successful. There were lines across the country. It wasn't just about the design, and it wasn't about the hype and the marketing at the time. It was because the project and the collaboration was so authentic to us, and it was a story that only we could tell.
Great. Now, something I do want to kind of drill down on here, this notion of collaboration, something that you know a lot about. And let's be honest, there's a lot of collabs happening out there. Some good, some better than others. What do you think makes a collaboration successful?
Well, look, at Disney, we have no shortage of opportunities. We have no shortage of dance partners that we can be paired with. So much of the creative actually comes down to the curation. Now, my philosophy with collaborations has always been, when you collaborate with a partner, it actually says more about you than it does the partner. It's a way for you to highlight the nuances and the facets of your brand that maybe you wouldn't typically get to tell but make you multifaceted, have depth, and have nuance. And you get to do it by partnering with a collaborator who might highlight some of those characteristics. So I think the first step and the most important step is looking deep within your own DNA, your own lore, your narrative, and that will lead you to the partners that you choose to collaborate with.
That's great. All right. So something you just touched on, Bobby, and certainly I think it's been a theme this afternoon, is this notion of cultural relevancy and how we are really leaning into those spaces that shape culture, whether it be fashion, sports, tech, gaming, and beyond. And so I now want to shift gears and talk about some examples. We're gonna stop here for a moment in the sports space. Sports is one of the world's most unifying cultural forces, and one thing that I think is really appealing to us is, like Disney, they inspire huge fandom. There's a lot of passionate Disney fans, and there's also a lot of passionate sports fans out there. And so it was a really interesting way for us to think about how we introduce new consumers into our brands and franchises. So one example, recent example, we had an incredible opportunity to partner with Formula One. They have a massive global fan base of 860 million. And when we launched the partnership last May with this kickoff spot, F1 reported that it had the highest engagement out of any partnership announcement they had ever done. So in case you missed it, go ahead and take a quick look. So it was a fun one.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about our F1 and Disney collab.
Yeah, are there any F1 fans out there? You guys love F1? Yeah. So F1 and Disney is about driving culture. No pun intended, driving culture. But it's about exploring these deep fandoms and these deep communities around sport and seeing what's possible on the front lines of sport, and especially product and fashion. We're doing all three things that we've talked about today with F1 and Disney. We're showing up where the fans are through digital content. We're providing these immersive, emotional experiences. We're showing up trackside at the Grand Prix. We were just out in Shanghai. If you can look up some of that content, but we had great product, a lot of amazing merchandise, cool plush, toys, Mickey and Minnie dipped head to toe in uniforms. And third, it was an unexpected collaboration. It was a pairing that you wouldn't expect to pay off in this way. And it worked because we told the story so authentically that you almost wonder how this story never existed before.
Now, we've done a lot of collaborations, but this one really popped. Really, it was special, it really sparked. What do you think made it stand out?
I think, look, I went to the Las Vegas Grand Prix last year. I don't know if anyone was there. That's where we debuted and premiered this collaboration. It wasn't until I was walking the pit, walking trackside, that I realized this wasn't just another logo slap license collaboration that you might typically expect from two powerhouse brands the way that we have. And I think you have to establish the context. We're living in a world that's quite divided. Even within sports, everyone picks a team. When you tell someone that you're into F1, they're gonna say, oh, what team are you on? You know, who's your driver, right? These are the first questions that you get asked. And when Disney entered the picture with F1, you realize how quickly everyone bonded to Team Disney. They were all rooting for Mickey. That was their favorite driver. Mickey was the only one that could go from garage to garage, taking photos with all the drivers, smiling. He brought the entire sport and culture together, and he opened it up so that everyone else can enter. And that's when I realized that the power of Disney goes far, far beyond collaborations, far beyond licensing. It's about opening up these worlds and inviting others in.
That's great. And I think we feel that this collaboration has a lot of potential for the reasons that you just mentioned. And so I am very excited today to reveal that we're expanding our Fuel the Magic campaign to the F1 Academy. That is the all-female racing series created by Formula One to develop the next generation of drivers. And coming to us from Shanghai, where she's in town for the Chinese Grand Prix, Here is a message from F1 Academy Managing Director, Susie Wolf.
I'm Susie Wolf here at Shanghai Disney Resort with F1 Academy, and we are thrilled to announce that Fuel the Magic will be expanding to F1 Academy beginning this spring. It will spotlight Minnie Mouse and Daisy Duck through exclusive merchandise, special on-site character moments, and original content designed to engage existing and new fans. The collaboration is a celebration of confidence, individuality, and ambition brought to life through Minnie and Daisy Duck, whose friendship and fearless style embody the power of women supporting women. By combining Disney's creativity with F1 Academy's ambition, we're excited that Fuel the Magic will be a part of shaping the next generation of fans, racers, and leaders throughout the globe.
Awesome.
It's a fun one. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
All right, so sticking with this theme of unexpected, we cannot leave here today without talking about K-pop.
Yep.
And our Blackpink capsule that we just launched with Complex. So for those that don't know, Blackpink's influence is unmatched with 40 billion streams, 20 million records sold, and a 400 million combined social following. They are a force. Bobby, tell us, what is this collab all about?
Yeah, as many F1 fans are in the audience, I'm sure there are just as many K-pop fans. I would ask you to all name your favorite band out loud, but it'd probably get pretty noisy in here. And look, on the theme of unexpected collaborations, maybe you wouldn't have seen this coming, right? Disney and K-pop, Disney and Blackpink. Very, very big names in their own respective industries. But it's about capitalizing on that unexpectedness. And look, we're living in a world that's become super formulaic, right? We need to defy these expectations. We need to break out of the assumptions of what you think that we would do. You know, that's typically something Disney would do. That's something typically that Blackpink would do. We want to challenge that. We want to confront that. For example, K-pop, you know, but make it punk rock in the way that it's designed. So Mickey and Minnie dressed in tartans and plaids and photocopied like a zine in a way that you wouldn't typically see where she would be offered in more of like a perfectly character art styled illustration. And so I love putting these things together that don't necessarily go together, or you wouldn't expect to live in the same room. Because when you do that, when you have these unexpected collaborations, you allow there to be space for your mind to be blown, right? And that's what we call surprise. It's really the Disney magic. Spot. Yeah, it's the Disney magic.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, you're actually wearing a piece from the collaboration.
That's right.
I see it here. And is this a favorite one you've worked on to date?
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite collaborations I've worked on. It was the first project I designed upon joining the company. It took about a year to get through. So yeah, I would say it's probably my favorite. Do you have one?
That's a fun one. I love so much of what we do, but I will tell you, in my tenure, there is one that stands out. It was the runway show that we staged at Disneyland Paris, where we unveiled our collection with French fashion house Caperni. We closed out Paris Fashion Week in a truly spectacular way, and the show featured some of the most recognizable models in the world, including Kylie Jenner, so it was a special one. But before we play the video, I do want to leave everybody with one thought. Today we have been talking about new and creative ways to stay relevant in a changing world, and look, you don't need a castle to make this kind of impact. It has been great being here with you this afternoon. Thank you, everybody, and we will now leave you with this.
How could you say no to walking out of the Disney castle in a princess dress?
We are Arnaud and Sebastian, the founders of Caperni. Met the Disney teams and we started brainstorming together. Sebastian had decided to stage a show at the park, and now it's happening.
I'm Dixie D'Amelio.
We're here at Disney for Caperni.
To put Caperni and Disney together is absolutely special.